What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Justin Rodriguez, your favorite lender here at Neighborhood Loans. And guys, we're back with another episode of Cafecito Talks. And as you see, we're in a different environment and we're super excited to announce these guests because we're actually at Tasa Coffee Roasters, guys. And we have an amazing journey to share to you guys because these guys have started an amazing business. And I'm telling you here, they know my order here. I come in, they already know. Get the Cuban sandwich, get the coffee ready, get the cafecito on deck because they know I'm here consistently because it's an amazing time. So I want to say thank you guys for coming out and joining us and on the show. So we just want to kind of, this main show is to give back to everybody to kind of see how you guys started your journey because everyone's story is beautiful and different. So again, thank you guys for coming on. If you guys want to share a little bit on you guys selves.
That was really good. We've done this before, I think. Well, how do we usually start? Do I usually start and then you start talking, or we have a thing going on, right?
You do. Yeah.
Okay, so Tasa Coffee started during COVID, right? It was during COVID. Jackie was working at a few restaurants beforehand, and when COVID struck, she ended up being out of work, right? Mm-hmm. And I was teleworking, so I was able to be home for a while. And then I remember Jackie and I talking about like maybe work instead of working for other people, using her talents to start up her own place or her own thing. And then we started looking into options and avenues into doing that. Like Jackie has always been, wherever she was in the kitchen, she was always the best one. Like she worked with people who never really believed in her because of her gender or whatever it was. Like, oh, she's new. She went to school. She didn't learn in the kitchens like we did. You know, she had her associates from, where was it?
Illinois Institute of Art.
So she went to culinary school. She learned how to do it right. She went to kitchens where people didn't have these backgrounds. And being a woman, it was always hard for her. So she was always the best one. She was always the top of her class. She won awards in her class. Like, she was always the best. So I'm like, Jackie, we need to take your talents, your skill set, your gift, and do something with it. And that's why we started talking about doing our own thing. And I think, when did we get into the coffee thing?
So I didn't want to be like, do a whole like bar and grill, right? So I was like, let's do something different. So we both love coffee.
Yeah.
And I was like, how hard is it to roast coffee? So we bought a little roaster, maybe like this big, like $100 on Etsy. $100. On eBay. And we bought a few green beans and then we started roasting our patio. And the first roast he did was awful. He burned those beans, and I was like,
things don't change.
Maybe.
Still awful.
I was like, maybe this is not where we should, we shouldn't go this route. But then eventually, we just started roasting a lot, and we started giving it to our neighbors, friends, and family. And they were like, "This is really good. Like, where'd you guys get this from?" We're like, "Our patio, roasting out there,
Yeah.
So then I was like, maybe that's what we should do, like a coffee shop. Coffee and like have a small menu, and then we can combine the two things we like, and that's kind of where
what I liked about that idea is that with roasted coffee you can sell that anywhere in the nation. Like if COVID were to hit again, we still have an avenue for revenue, right? And that's an important thing to have when you can be like, so many restaurants were so affected by COVID, a lot of restaurants went away,
right? But
if God forbid it would happen again, we would still have coffee that we can sell. We still wholesale coffee, hopefully. Like there's still, it's an added revenue stream that it wasn't that hard for me to get into.
Right.
So that was the idea behind that.
And that's a good piece. That's a good piece too. And I think what's super important too is like, obviously you guys are both Latinos, and it's hard to any industry. Like you're starting on like just feeling that pressure of your family, your friends, to be able to start your own business. And not only that, but to run a successful business when honestly the odds you feel might be against you because you have a lot of critics, right? Whether it be in the outside world and whether it be in your own family and friends, right? So the main thing I want to dive into, you guys, is really dive deeper into your guys' situation, being that you're a Latina chef that usually may not be as common and people might be looking at you in a different way. How did you guys overcome those struggles and open up to the successful coffee shop that you guys have?
I think for me, like working in kitchens and being the only woman, it was always like, oh, she's not really going to last. Like, we're not even going to train her. Luckily, I can watch you and I can learn. I can tell you how many tablespoons of, comino you put on that. And like, so one day, like one of our cooks got sick and he was like, what are we going to do? And I was like, I've seen him do stuff, so I can do it.
Right.
And then he was surprised. He's like, I never taught you how to do that. I was like, I just watch.
Yeah.
I don't need to teach me. So for me, it was one of those where I told him, like, I want to have my own business where I want to treat everyone equal. And if I could have all ladies in my restaurant, like it's going to happen.
Right.
Just because I always felt kind of like I didn't belong. Right. And, you know, he was like, well, yeah, you should feel comfortable and you should do what makes you happy. So I was like, okay. Like, you know, so when, like, one thing I remember, one of our neighbors around here was like, oh, can I come into your place? And I was like, sure. He goes, are you the owner? I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh, I only see you last in like maybe 2 months.
Really?
And he was like, yeah, you're not going to do well here. Like, this is too nice for this community. And I was like, well, but why can't we as Latinos have nice things? Yeah. You know? And he was like, yeah, I give you 3 months. So here we are a year and 5 months later, right? Like,
and he was he one of the business owners around this area?
Yeah, he's still around here.
And that's what, like, I love our community, and I do, but I do think that there's a saying that I feel as if that our community doesn't uplift each other in the way that I believe that we should. Like, I believe that we should look at each other as people. Okay, how can we spotlight our own business, and how can we grow our business together in a sense where now it's like, a lot of times they look at it where it's like, oh, well, I don't think it's going to be a successful business. And it's more pessimistic instead of being uplifting and growing each other. And I think that's something that we really do need to push within our Latino culture, because I do think for a while, that's just how it is. It's not. And there's some cultures out there where they come together and they grow into multi-business, not just 1,000, 2, 3, 4, 5, because they all come together as a family or whatever, family, friends that come together to open that. But in our community, I do feel as if that example is kind of a prime example that we don't come together as much as we should. And I want you guys to kind of go deeper into what you guys felt was like the hardest thing that you guys have to overcome when getting into opening your own business. Because a lot of people, you look into social media and everything, looks so great, the glitz and the glam of running a business. But what do you think that the hardest thing was when you guys opened a business?
I think the hardest thing for us was getting the capital. Getting the funds to do this. Like, a lot of people don't know this, but they think that the SBA or other organizations cover you for businesses. They don't. We've applied for so many loans. We've never received an outside loan outside the things we own, like our real estate. So we had to take home equity loans on our properties in order to get the funds for this place. But, you know, we don't have any business loans. We don't have any. Everything is personal loans that we had to take on for our business. And that's what made it so difficult, because at a certain point, we ran out of money. There was just no more money. I was tapped out of credit, tapped out of equity. There was not much. And at that point, we had to rely on family and friends to help us out. And that's really what pushed us through. But had it not been for the people that supported us, Tasa would not exist. Right. So the hardest part for us, I feel, at a certain point, was the money.
Yeah, I think, like, you have a budget and you talk to your designer, your contractor, your architect, and they're like, it looks like a good budget. Like, we can make it happen. And then you start tearing down walls, floor, and it's like, oh, there's nothing but dirt under this floor. That's going to be 20 grand more. And it's like, okay. And then there's plumbing issues, another 20 grand. So you're like, that's 40 in like a month, right? So then your budget just starts to, you know.
And then you find yourself butting heads with the people that you're working with, because they're like, well, I envisioned this for your cafe. Well, we're like, well, you might have envisioned that, but we can't afford that. Right. You know, like, and there's always, like, she's talking cost overruns. Yeah. There was a pipe to this building that we lease. We leased our space. There's a water pipe to the building that the city made us replace and pay for. We had to wait like 2 months for the permit, and then we had to pay $10,000 to replace the pipe to a building we don't own. And the city said, nope, that's what you have to do. So, and that $10,000, it's not like the city says, oh, well, we got time, you can pay it. No, they want their $10,000 there. Wow. So we had to find $10,000. That was one of those random things. The floor, $15,000 because of whatever. And so, like you said, it's so many random things that just pop up, and it's like, I don't have $50,000, $60,000 laying around. So that was pretty stressful at one point.
It's stressful. I think for me, 5 months before we opened, I was kind of like, I don't want to continue the project. I was like, we like need 100 grand more to get equipment, get your inventory. And, you know, he was like, no, we're this far, like, we're going to make it happen. We'll figure it out. We did. Luckily, my parents, God bless them, because that's who loaned us the 100K. But I think Pierre was always just very optimistic, and I was a little more negative, I think. But it's hard. Negative, never. So it helps when I think I was more like, no, let's be real about this. Let's sit down. Let's look at numbers. Like, it's not gonna happen. He's like, no, like we're gonna make it happen. We'll find a way. And we did. We're here.
Right.
That could have gone really wrong. Yeah. That could have gone really bad because there's something called the sunk cost fallacy.
Right.
That if you are so deep into something, you kind of feel like you have to keep going. Like, had this not worked out, that would have been part of that fallacy. Like,
right. You're like,
you could have lost everything.
Right. I mean, because you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, I already invested X amount. Like, I'm in too deep. I might as well just kind of go all the way deep into it. And I do think that persistence is something that you got to give yourselves credit for, because if it wasn't for the persistence and the discipline to continue to rise, then you guys wouldn't be in the position that you guys are in now. But overall, I mean, one thing I love about what you guys said too is family. Obviously, if you can't count on your family, like, I don't know what else you can count on. You know, I think that's one of the main things is obviously the newborn dad for me, right? Like, I would hope to be able to have that some sort of experience like that for my kids, to be able to do something, because there's nothing better than to own your own business, right? But the misconception is that it's easy to do so. In reality, it's not. It's not at all easy to run a business. The one thing is, it may be having the idea is one thing, but to actually get the business running, generating business, generating income, figuring out how much expenses are, because in reality, I don't know how much a coffee shop needs to run. All people see are Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts running on a daily basis, making money. Like, man, people who own Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks would be making millions, but they didn't know what it took to open the first Starbucks ever. How much money did it take? How much risk did it take? And the first person who took the risk is obviously reaping the rewards and benefits, but not everybody's willing to take the risk. So I commend you guys, because at the end of the day, look, I tell people all the time, right? When you have $100,000 in the bank, what are you going to do with it? How can you turn that $100,000 into $200,000, $300,000, $400,000? It's not by leaving it in the bank. It's by figuring out how to reinvest it into something. And what you guys chose to do is reinvest in yourselves. And that was beautiful to see that you guys were able to kind of accomplish something that I feel like everybody at some point in life wants to do, but doesn't.
It's scary.
Because it's a scary feeling. Because everything you've saved up for to put it into an investment like this, like, who thinks that they're going to be able to do it? So what made you guys, like, what was that turning point for you guys that was like, all right, this right here is when I'm going to invest in myself. I'm not going to work for no other company. We are going to be the company that we want to run for ourselves.
I think it's a combination of like, okay, what are you good at? What am I good at? Right? Like, you
still haven't figured it out for me. We're still working on that one. Yeah.
Like, he's really good with numbers, right? Yeah. So we're like, okay, here's the numbers, guys, and I'm very creative. So I'll figure out how to keep bringing new things into the coffee shop. So I think splitting the work, I guess, it's helpful.
Yeah. I mean, to answer your question, I don't know what was like the main thing that got us to wanting to do this business? Like, what was
there was not a distinct person, or was just not a distinct
your dad?
I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean, my dad, he's a business, right? And business has a bar. So I think for me, it's like, I knew it wasn't gonna be easy, right? Like, I think it was a lot of years of, we never really saw my dad because he was busy running his business. So it's one of those where it's like, okay, we have a son, so it's going to be a sacrifice, right? Like, maybe we're going to be working a lot, and, he sits there and he'll be like, well, why are you and daddy always working? I said, because this is for you, so that you want to be a vet. I want to be able to pay for your school. And, I want you to travel. I want you to do things that maybe we didn't get to do growing up. So I think for us, it's just that one, we want better
and we want to inspire him to maybe follow his dreams and to take the risks that are going to get him further in life. For me, my life hasn't been easy, and there's a lot of struggles that I had as a child. So for me, in my mind, I only have one life. I have to keep risking it all, because I don't know, I might not be here tomorrow. And I have to show, our son that dad was a hard worker, dad followed his dreams, and that dad tried his best to make his family rise, And honestly, I really do believe in Jackie and her talents, and I always have, and I always will. So that's one reason that I'm like, we need to have our own place. Like, I can't let your your talents go to waste working for somebody else. You know.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, I think the number one thing, obviously, like, we kind of circle back into family. Like, family is the number one purpose of life, right? And honestly, not only family, but you guys yourselves. Like, there's something to be said when you dump your time into a business because you're reinvesting back in yourself. It gives yourself purpose too, because you wake up every day, especially when you love what you do. It doesn't necessarily feel like you're actually working, you know. And I think for you guys, you're giving back to your son in a different value and different light, because obviously everyone's goal in life, a vast majority of people want to run their business, want to have their own hours, want to be able to make sure that Tasa can become self-sufficient one day, and you have a chain of Tasas everywhere, and you guys at some point could be sitting in the Bahamas and not worry about anything. That's the dream everybody wants to have, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only thing. Dreams. There's a saying, I don't know if you guys watch Suits. It's my favorite show of all time. But there's a saying that I don't dream. I have goals. So I'm going to actually achieve the things that I want to achieve. It's never going to be a dream. It's just how hard are you going to work towards the things that you actually want to achieve in order for it to actually become where it's a reality. Yeah. And I think that if you were to be able to instill that in your kid at a young age, there's not many things that they're not actually willing or capable of being able to do. Because I think the main thing that I see in people, right, is you got to look at the most successful people in your industry. And that's the key indicator on whether or not you feel like you could see they're human, right? Like the one time you could see someone that owns a bunch of coffee shops or whatever industry, whether it be real estate, coffee, and you can meet them and they're human. That for me, it's like, what's the difference between that guy and me? Yeah. There's nothing different between us. And if that person could do it, what does it take for me to be in the shoes that person's in? And if not surpass the shoes that they're fulfilling right now. Yeah. So it's like, honestly, I like think a lot of the main thing that you guys can do, and exactly what you guys are doing, is give back to your son and that, like where my mom and dad are my mom and dad. I grew up with them. I know them. There's nothing, they're amazing. I look at them as superheroes, but I could be that. I could fulfill that, just you know? Yeah. And at the end of the day, that was my always goal, right? My parents were my superheroes back in the day, and they still are to this day. And I think for me, it was like, I just want to be half of what they done. And if you set that bar so high that they go and try and shoot for the stars, and maybe make it just to the sky, but that's higher than what someone else would have thought of before, you know?
That's true.
But do you guys envision for your guys' self's future, like, what is your guys' happy life? Like, do you guys envision it to where this is self-sufficient and you guys have a chain, or do you guys see it more of like where you guys are in the trenches? Because I mean, it's okay if that's too good. I love my job, so I'm like, I mean, if I gotta be old and do it writing loans, that's cool too. Yeah. But what do you guys see of your guys' own happy life?
I mean, I think we don't see chains. We don't see that. I think we see maybe 2 or 3 at max. We don't see. We're not trying to go national or expand, you know, like in that way.
I think when you go too big, you lose that quality.
Yeah, you definitely do.
Of course,
it's hard with one place. Yeah. But imagine you have 2 or 3. Like we're big on quality here, or consistency, and that's not something we want to risk losing by going too big or too fast. But we do want to not have to be here all the time. Like we do want to be able to get people that can run Tasa for us, or run Tasa 2, Tasa 3. Like that is the end goal. We don't want to be in the trenches every day.
Right.
It becomes stressful. Right. Jackie's here 6 days a week.
What are the biggest stresses that you guys have?
For me, it's like, when people are like, oh, it must be fun and easy that you have your own business. I'm like, no, I work in my business. I'm the plumber, the engineer. Like something breaks down, a piece of equipment, I have to fix it. I'm tech. So it's not like you just come in and you sit in your office and, make sure everyone's doing their job. It's like you have to be here and you have to take care of you make sure that everything's running properly. So it's hard.
Yeah. In addition to all that, you're also HR. You're also like
I'm HR. You're payroll, right?
You're a labor attorney, like
you're
inventory. Yeah. It's hard. And then you also, one thing I didn't realize with the business is that you have so many people that end up relying on you, and that you end up caring about. And then you're like, and maybe sometimes they don't realize that I actually do care about you, and I care about you being successful in our business. So it's like you have a lot of things you're trying to weigh at the same time. Like, okay, I have to pay this bill, but I also have to pay my employee, and I have to make sure they're happy, and there's so many things. You wear so many hats that it can be it can be overwhelming.
It is.
And it's tough because a lot of people assume that the top line of your business is what you're going to take home. But like you said, after expenses, you start paying everybody and you're like, oh shit, like, you know, what's my bottom line? What am I actually going to make? But when are you going to pay yourself?
Right.
Because when you got to pay your employees, you got to pay everybody. And then you're like, oh shit, when do I actually pay myself? And I think that would probably be my most difficult part of running a business is when do you actually pay yourself? How much do you reinvest in the business before you? Right. I agree. I think you should invest everything back into your business until you start seeing that return where you're like, okay, now I reinvested X amount. Now I can start paying myself. But I think that it's tough. It's a tough distinction because you never know when business might slow down. And that's still one thing that I think not a lot of business owners talk about. And I think it's super important is when you're running a business, you never know the downfall of when the business is going to occur. And that's always an underlying thought in your head is, what if tomorrow business were to slow down? And now I don't have as much money that in the bank that I did before. And now it's like, I got to go in overdrive mode. And now you're starting to freak out. And that's something that's always in the back and a stress that all business owners, I believe, actually have. And I think it should be out there for everybody to understand and realize that that's an anxiety that you could potentially have just from simply owning a business. It's not all glitz and glam. And I want you guys to like really kind of zone in on family and business, because I think it's really tough. That's one thing for me, at least, is, you know, when you're working kind of in a way self-employed, you're running your own business. I think a lot of people have an indication that's 9 to 5, whatever you get, but it's 24/7, right? Like, how do you guys juggle the two? How do you have your family and then have your business at home?
We don't.
It's hard. Honestly,
It's very hard,
sometimes you just want to like sit for an hour and like watch some trash TV and just be like, but then you're like, oh, forgot I gotta reply to these 50 emails. Oh, forgot that this broke down and I gotta find someone to come and fix it. And it's hard. It's, I mean,
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's very difficult to balance it, especially in the beginning. I think we've gotten better at it when, like, I think we're lucky that we're able to develop our staff. We're able to pinpoint their strengths and weaknesses. So, like, one of our baristas, we've kind of elevated her title to lead, and now she orders inventory for us. She has her own credit card. Like, we are trying to find ways to alleviate some of the workload that we have. And I think that's the key, because eventually you're going to burn out. When you wear so many hats, eventually you can't wear them anymore. So I think that's what's working for us. But it is a lot, especially last year. And honestly, during the time that we were building this out, it was a lot on me, because we didn't have any project like lead or manager. It was me. So whenever something didn't work, they're like, hey, Pierre, can you fix this? I'm like, I don't know anything about floors. Hey, Pierre, this pipe's not working. I'm not a plumber.
Right.
like,
aren't you the plumber?
Right.
What am I doing?
Electricity, do you think?
Yeah, you need 220 volts, or I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like,
Right.
why are you asking me? So that was during the build out. That was a lot, and even when the first few months, we had like constant floods.
Oh yeah. Issues. Yeah.
We had
We
floods.
spent like $1,500 just in 1 month in like plumbing.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
On top of paying rent for a whole year that
We
we
paid
weren't
rent for a year before we even
making
opened.
money.
Oh, without any money,
Yeah.
with that.
Honestly, if you're afraid of risk, if you're afraid of not getting your money back at a certain time, I would not open up a business, because it's probably a lot smarter to put that money that you're going to have into a business and put it into the stock market.
Yeah.
You put it into something that follows the stock market, get like a 10% return or whatever it is. You're a lot better off. Because we maybe might make profit. I don't know if we'll make it this year, maybe next year. But last year we lost, a good amount of money. And that's normal for a business. Whereas if I just had put, $300,000 into the stock market, I would have made money.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. If you're afraid of risk, if you're afraid of things like that, just avoid it.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that after 3 years making a profit, and I guess I want people to kind of get an understanding of what that means. So that means, are you not paying yourself out, or does that mean the business is running at a loss in order for you guys to maintain everything?
It's running at a loss.
Right. And people need to understand that, because like I said, it's just a lot of people have the indication, like, this is the best way that I could put it. Right? People could go ahead and drive a Rolls Royce every day. They could be Chanel, Prada, all this stuff. You look at them like, man, that motherfucker got money, bro. He got money. And then at the end of the day, you look at the bank account, they got $1. You're like, what the fuck? Like, where's all the money that you look like you have? And I think this is a good indication that you guys have a very successful business. I don't want you guys to make no mind about it, but it takes time for it to develop into the business that you guys envision it to be. And I guess when you guys opened this business, did you guys see it like, okay, this is gonna be $1 million business, this is gonna be there? What do you guys what did you guys think?
I mean, it's one of those where you're like, okay, is this too different for the community?
Yeah.
Are people gonna like us? Like, maybe we're not even gonna have a customer in the first day. Like, I don't know. Like, you really don't know until, now we hug and kiss our customers because they're our friends now, So it's I think it was just for us, we didn't really know.
Was that book by Obama, The Audacity of Hope? That's kind of what it was. It was like this hope that what we are bringing here is going to make people come by, and that we saw there's nothing like this in this area, and we knew like our people deserve this too, because people would tell us, oh, this exists in Wicker Park, exists in Lincoln Park, this exists
California,
in
California, right.
West Loop or whatever, California, LA, but it doesn't, almost like telling us it doesn't belong here,
right?
And people tell us that, oh, you should be downtown. Why are you putting so much money in this building?
Right.
Like, well, because I think people deserve nice things everywhere.
Right.
So like we didn't build it with the hope, with the expectation that we would get millions out of it. We built it with the hope that we could sustain it and sustain our lifestyles with it. But I mean, it's not. I don't think we ever had like grand dreams like that. No.
But I think that's the beautiful part about obviously the location that you guys chose. Is you guys are the pioneers of the area, And I think that this area, I grew up like 5 minutes from here. I grew up very close to here, and honestly, 10 minutes from here, where I actually grew up, you see $1 million bill, like single family, new construction homes. So like, and that's the beautiful part that I love about real estate is areas develop, and people got to understand that over time, typically speaking, real estate appreciates in value. And when real estate appreciates in value, more investors come in, prices come up in the area, then more coffee shops like this come in the area. So if anything, you guys did a good business move over time as the area develops. Like I know right here on North and Pulaski, there's a lot of developments that are looking to come out. So again, the main thing is you guys undermine the market. You guys came in at a time, got something very cheap, probably, well, not very cheap, but cheaper than what it would cost to be in the Wicker Parks, to be in the West Loops, and that's the beautiful part about having a vision. And a lot of people don't have that vision when they're starting their own business because everyone wants to make a profit up front. And that's the hardest part, is like understanding and seeing, okay, maybe this area doesn't have anything like this, but I want to be the pioneer of this area. I want to be the one thing that maybe people look at and say, okay, maybe there should be a couple more of these areas. And now you dictate the market. Because if you see, I'm being dead serious. You go 10 minutes east and you're in Wicker Park, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you're right there. And so it's like, you guys are being kind of expanding the line, and you guys are setting the dictation of what this area can be. And not that, and I don't even think this area is that bad for people to be saying that. I don't think, so it's like, oh, should this be there? But I applaud you guys for just having that vision and being like, okay, this is what we can build on top of it and hopefully give back to the community. Because ultimately our main goal should be to give back to our community, right? And I think this is a very Latino based area, very much so heavily populated within our area. Like this is a bunch of Hispanics that live around here, and all we could do is continue to drive business in this area and allow us to be the people that are reaping the benefits. All of our community should be the ones that are benefiting from these situations. I appreciate you guys for being able to open up and seeing that vision. And when you guys got into just this sector of business, did you guys have any mentors that were like, that kind of guided you in this, or was it just like you guys jumped in by yourselves?
I think my dad.
Your dad?
Yeah, he was kind of just like, okay, just make sure that you don't put everything, like, don't go big. We didn't listen, right?
We didn't listen, yeah.
Like, no, we're gonna have a full kitchen. Like, we're just gonna do the roaster, like the roaster room, and like we're gonna do everything. And he's like, okay, but I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna run out of money, and then you're gonna regret it. And we're like, we should be fine. Like we have a budget. Like we're good. And then, we found ourselves like, hey, Dad, we ran out of money like you told us. So, because we did everything too fast. And he's like, I told you. But he's like, obviously, I want to see you guys succeed. So, wrote a check, and we're like, okay. But yeah, no, it's.
I mean, yeah, he was a good mentor.
Yeah, he was just like, it's fine. Like, don't go in it thinking that you're gonna make all this money. He's like, that's how you're gonna go in thinking that you're gonna make a lot of money, like, you're gonna fail, because you're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna stress yourself out. Like, it's gonna come, but like, don't expect to get rich, within 2 months of, running your business.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It's taken time for us. I think I was telling you earlier that we're up 80% from last year, and that's through word of mouth. That's through our wholesale accounts. That's like, but that took time, right? Like last year, we were looking out the window hoping that people would come in, but now, we're packed every day. So we're blessed to have that. But I mean, to answer your question, my mentor, I think, not in a business sense, but in a general life sense, was my mom. She always pushed me to go to college. She always pushed me to do better. Our families are immigrants. They came from Mexico, and they struggled and they risked it all to come here. And my mom was always like, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to go to school, don't work in factories, do your own thing, and just do your best. And she never told me like, you need to be this, an attorney or this. Just do your best, and I believe in you. So I mean, I guess our parents were good mentors, and they kind of pushed us and made this happen.
Yeah. And how important do you guys think mentors are for the amounts of success that you guys have right now?
They're pretty damn useful, I think.
I think so too.
And honestly, when people reach out to us for advice on business, whatever, we're always open. Yeah. Like, we don't have the most time in the world, but we've sat here and we've given people business advice. Yeah, right here. And people open up cafes. They're like, so how'd you do it? Or how do you pick your prices? Whatever. We tell them. Because we don't have anything to hide. Because we're here to help people. That's part of the reason we believe that we have this place.
I think they leave scared, but I think we let them know, like, it's not. Yeah, you gotta be honest.
And I truly believe it's something called the law of attraction, right? Like, the more positive energy that you give forth to the world, I believe it's gonna come down a tenfold to you guys, And I think that you guys are doing the right thing in giving back, because if there isn't people like you, then at the end of the day, we're gonna be a world where we're trying to hold all the money to yourselves, and at the end of the day, it's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help yourselves. It's not just because you guys didn't told that business your secrets doesn't necessarily mean that you guys aren't going to grow more. If anything, they might give you more referrals because you're the one that's helping them grow, and they'll just have that certain level of respect for you. And I think that that's something that I really wish that this world had a lot more of just being able, just having positive energy and give back to the people that are trying to make it. Because let's be honest, everyone's trying to make it in this world, and it just takes time. It takes time to build, and I don't think that there's enough positivity in this world, and I do think we should spread it a lot more overall. So
we try to, definitely.
Yeah, we do.
We've had pop-ups here for small businesses.
Always.
Entrepreneurs that live in this area who have come by, set up right here in this table, and sold their makeup, sold their pastries.
Nice.
And we never charge anyone. We just tell them, just set up. Give us an hour or give us your set hours, and then we'll advertise it on our social media, and then have fun. And they always end up selling a lot.
Everything.
It always works out well for them. And if we can do that for somebody else, we're happy with that.
Right. Do you guys, and again, I mean, the one thing that I've learned from my family, from my dad and everything, is you don't have to follow the footsteps of what I did, but do you guys envision your son or anyone in your family to have the same, I guess, environment of this? Do you want someone else, or do you feel like maybe it's something you're like, I don't know if I want my son to go through this, or I don't know if I want, like, what do you guys, because it's interesting,
He already told us, I love the coffee shop, but that's not my dream. He's like, I want to be a vet or whatever he ends up doing in life. And we're like, you do whatever makes you happy. Yeah. Like, you don't have to, Tasa does not have to be something that, you have to be a part of. But he's like, I love it. He's like, maybe I can do both. I'm like, well, maybe you can do both.
Right.
But no, I mean, we want him to do whatever makes him
happy.
I
told him, like, you can be a vet, but you better open up your own veterinary office. Like, open up your own vet hospital. Like, I want you to still work for yourself.
Right.
Because working for others, in my mind, ultimately isn't the goal. Yeah. I've never worked well for others. Right. I barely work well for Jackie. So, like, I just want him to be the experience and freedom that we have working here. And the team aspect and the community that we have here. I would like that for him. Right. But he can do
Yeah.
Tasa's not his dream.
No.
And that's fine.
Right.
It's our dream.
Well, I guess one of the main things that I do like to ask business owners, because I think it's a topic that everybody you got to ask yourself, right? At some point in business, you got to look at yourself, and outside of business and your personal self, happiness. Do you guys feel like business has brought forth more happiness? Are you guys in a state of happiness? And if not, how do you think that you guys can structure the next upcoming years of your life with your business to achieve more happiness? What do you think can bring forth more into your life?
No, we're not happy.
Well,
No.
I think we're starting to be. It was a lot.
A process.
It was very stressful.
I mean, we're married, and I think we had a lot of arguments.
Mainly you had a lot of.
Well, I had a lot of arguments. It's just that we see each other every day. So when something wrong was happening, it's like we would take it out on each other. But I think we're at that point where, like he said, our team is taking a little more responsibility. So it kind of helps, I think, in our personal life where we're not taking work home so much now. So.
No, yeah, I think we are happier. I mean, it's for at least I am. I don't know. I should ask you more.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I remember when she worked for other people in other kitchens and the way she was treated. And in my opinion, you are happier.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wasn't happy for you working in those places.
Yeah.
So, I think we're definitely happier. And it has been a struggle, but like she said, now with the delegation of duties and things, our happiness is rising. And honestly, some of the happiest times I've had are seeing smiling faces in Tasa and hearing people who don't know that I work here saying, "Oh, I love this place. I'm so glad it's here." Yeah. And like just hearing that, to me is like it just feels like we're doing something right, like ethically right, like something for people. And it's just a really nice feeling to know that we're doing something that gives back.
It gives back to the community. And what's beautiful is you guys are giving back to the community ultimately where you guys grew up. Yeah. And that's I grew up in Humboldt Park and I moved to Bolingbrook and I came back. So now I'm back in the same area that I was before, And that's the beauty of it is you're able to go ahead and give back. You have the opportunity to give back. And like I said, not a lot of people have that opportunity. And the hardest part is that not a lot of people want to. They kind of forget about their past. And I think the right thing to do is remember where your roots came from, because you wouldn't be where you're at if it wasn't for the roots,
Yeah.
So I think that you guys are doing something amazing. And I want to, for you guys, do you guys have a goal, like a set goal that you guys want to be, whether it be retirement, whether it be for your business, whatever it might be? Do you guys have a set goal for your family, business side, whatever it might be? Do you have a set goal that you guys see yourself doing within the next however many years?
Honestly, we would like to, within the next probably 3 or 4 years, have our own space for another Tasa. I would like to find a building that we can renovate, maybe reach out to the city again, maybe get a grant like we did for this place, and then just have a space that we own that we can open up in an area that doesn't have a place like Tasa and expand in that way. That's my dream, but we haven't sat down and done the math and business plan for it or anything. But I think that's our dream. And and probably also be able to expand, or at least be able to hire a general manager for Tasa just to kind of further alleviate some of our duties. But I think that's.
What do you guys do when you guys sit down and business plan? What are you guys when you're all right, I'm Tasa right now. What where do you start? You're just all right, Tasa.
Well, you know what? I created the business plan before we opened, and I was just going by numbers that I looked up online. I'd go to Reddit, I'd Google, because you don't know. Right. I did some math. I went to Fiverr.com and I looked up how many cars drive down here. It's 25,000 cars drive North Avenue every day. So I knew that. So okay. So I'm if one car stops, then I did kind of the math with that, and my numbers ended up being really wrong. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah. But now that we have this place and we have numbers that we can go by, now it's a lot easier to kind of guesstimate another Tasa in another area, how it might do. So I think having the numbers that we have, you can just sit down and run them and kind of build a business plan that way. But in the beginning, it was all guessing.
And did you underestimate numbers or overestimate?
Over. Like I said, you estimate a certain amount, but word of mouth takes so long. Right. In the beginning, I used to hustle, and I'd get flyers, and I walk down these streets for hours putting flyers on cars,
right,
down the streets. And I was like, well, nobody's coming in, so flyers, I Google ads, Facebook ads, like I tried my best.
A lot of people thought that no one spoke Spanish,
right,
so they would just kind of peek and were like, oh, you know, come in, and like, oh no, like I gotta go change because this looks fancy. I'm like, no, you don't have to change, like come on in.
Yeah.
But then we started making flyers in Spanish too, so
that kind of helped.
Helped a lot.
Right. And I think that's just, again, it shows you what you guys are bringing forward, just perseverance. You know, it's not taking, it's setting up a business plan. Because, again, the main thing that people fail when it comes to running a business is they don't start. Like, you have the business concept, you have the idea, but it's not taking the leap and taking the risk of starting your own business. And where do you start? Well, do exactly what you do. Google it, YouTube it. Learn from other people. I think Google and the internet, the beautiful part about the internet is it's a mentor within itself. Yeah. It's a mentor without you having to pay, without you having to do it, meet people. The internet is one of the most powerful tools that you can have in order to run a successful business. Because how do you run a business if you don't know where to start? You don't have any mentors in the coffee industry. Where do you start? Well, I think you did the perfect thing, which is go to Google, go to YouTube, figure out people who have already done it and learn from their mistakes. There's no secret success to life. I think the one thing that people got to understand about life is that history repeats itself. Yeah. It's a never-ending circle. People who messed up before are going to pretty much mess up the same way in the future. Our kids are going to make the same mistakes we did. It's always going to come into a full circle, which is why I think it's so important to meet individuals who have already done what you are planning to do, and or learn for something and use free resources like the internet, which can give you ideas and bounce things off. And from that point forward, you learn from your own life experiences. The one thing that's invaluable that I wish everybody had was experience. If I had every experience in the world, you think I would be doing what I'm right? I'll be on a boat somewhere with Jeff Bezos, But unfortunately, we don't have every experience in the world, and you just gotta continue to network. And I think one of the main things that you guys have brought forth to me is you guys brought business for me. You guys expanding my own business and opening your shop for me to do events and doing things like that. I mean, the world to me. Like, I was like open arms. I was here. Eddie and I were talking, and we're like. He's like, oh, I'm scared to ask them. I'm like, I mean, I might as well ask. If they say no, they say no. But but you guys always have been open arms to just any business idea that we brought forth. So we are extremely grateful. And everybody that my past clients came here, they loved the food. They loved everything about it. And, the free coffee they loved every single second of it. So again, I really do appreciate everything you guys have done, not only for me, the growth of my business, but the growth of other people's business and what you've done for the community. You guys have given back so much. So if you guys had to give, I guess, kind of like a closing remark for you, what would you guys give back to, number one, individuals who are looking to start their own business, or just a piece of life advice for anybody that's just kind of struggling and figuring out what they want to do?
I think as long as you want something, you just got to put the work in. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to just say, well, I have the money and, people who can help me out. But if you don't put the work, it's not going to work out for you. So I think
you definitely have to do the work. And honestly, I think something that people don't really put a lot of value into is that success breeds success. So if you've accomplished something, be proud of that accomplishment and then move on to the next accomplishment. And then eventually success becomes maybe not easy, but easier. Like now when Jackie comes up with a new idea, I don't think, oh, it's going to fail. I think, oh, we're going to do well. Right. If it does fail, I'll be like, okay, what can we change to make that better? Right. But, I'm a high school dropout. And then I ended up, going to college, getting my degree. And I'm like, okay. And then later I'm like, I'm going to get my master's. Yeah. So I got a master's. But that's all because I succeeded previously. And I believe in myself. Just keep trying, like you said, keep fighting for what you believe in. And eventually you're going to get there. Mm-hmm. At least we did, right?
You don't want to look back and tell yourself oh, what would have happened if we did open a coffee shop, right? No, let's make it happen. Let's just do it. And
you have to.
Yeah, if we fail, we fail, but at least we tried.
Yeah. The only time you fail is when you don't try. That's the only time, because I mean, those are the times that you don't actually try are the moments that you didn't take a shot, and you hit 0% of shots you don't take, you know. So I think that you guys have done the right things, and the main thing that I do think that you guys have followed is perseverance and discipline. You, no matter what things occurred in your career and the things that you have done, you guys have always persevered, and you guys created your own things. Like you said, people didn't look at you as the top chef. They never looked at you as the top cook. Maybe because you're Latina, maybe because whatever you want to speculate. At the end of the day, they never treated you the way that you felt that you could do for yourself, which is why you persevered, you became disciplined, and you overcame every doubt that everybody's had. You owned it yourself. So now you can invite all those other people to come to my coffee shop, you know, eat my Cuban sandwich, you know, because it's yours, and you should be very, very, very proud of it. For the Latina community, for everything. I look up to that, and I really do. Again, now that I have a daughter, it means the world to me to be able to see that you've done what you've done, and vice versa to you as a man, supporting your wife, supporting the vision and the dream. Like it's inspiring to see the amount of support that you guys have given to yourself. And again, just making sure that you give back to the community and doing everything you guys do. And you guys are absolutely amazing what you guys do. So thank you guys so much for you guys' time. Is there anything else you guys like to give to everybody else?
Make sure to come to Tasa.
Well, thank you guys so much. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this. First and foremost, hope you guys have your cafecito. And if you guys have not tried Tasa, make sure to come on out. Try their cafecito. It's amazing. And get their Cuban sandwich. That's what I get every single time. But if you guys have not already, like, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. We really do appreciate your time. Hope everyone has a great day.